at the point where I decided to reach out and take my Superman cape off because I thought I knew everything and I thought I had all of the answers, but I didn't. And I let my ego slide and reach out and say, I can't do this on my own anymore. My life changed. High achieving people know who they are. Everybody says, well, how do you define a high achiever? And I can define it, but the people that are listening to this, for example, likely have an ambition to do amazing things, whatever it is they're doing. That's a high achiever, but they know who they are. We have a responsibility to recognize when, our top performers on our team are not, something's off, or, they're losing their edge, and stepping in there as a leader just to nudge and see if they're okay. I want to tell these executives, like, who does the CEO call when he needs help, right? Because he's usually the person that everybody calls. Oftentimes these executives, these high performers, don't know who to call because they're not sure what's the issue, and that is where...
Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this episode, I had a discussion with Kenny Stoddart. Ken is a founder of IronMind Advisors and a creator of IronMind Mentality, a framework for building mental resilience, strategic clarity, and performance under pressure. Drawing from decades coaching leaders in a business and sports, plus his own recovery journey, he blends neuroscience with the practical tools. Now pursuing Masters in Addiction Counseling, Ken helps high performers transform chaos into clarity and stress into strength. But this was a very interesting discussion. Ken talks about his experience in the corporate world. Then he talks about his challenges with the addictions and a lot of personal health challenges. And he drew a lot of lessons learned out of his experience and shared that with the business leaders to help them to avoid some of the mistakes that he's gone through, and also how to get, if you're dealing with some challenges, how to get over some of those challenges. Hope you find that value in this discussion as much I did, and enjoy Ken's journey and his, all the lessons learned and his experience. If you find a value in this discussion, don't forget to send us your feedback, share with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Your feedback is very important to us. Allow us to focus on the right discussions on a weekly basis to help you grow and scale your business. Until next time, please welcome Kenny Stoddart. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today our guest is Kenny Stoddart. Kenny, interesting journey what you've gone through. I'm looking forward to learning from you, looking forward to a discussion. Thank you so much for time and welcome to the podcast.
Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
So if you walk us, our audience, through, Kenny, what is IronMind Advisors about, and what do we do there, and how do we help our people?
Well, IronMind Advisors is the company that I started about 9 months ago now. It's an executive coaching business that I focus on working with high performers, similar to the way I was for 27 years in the cybersecurity space. But I've since pivoted and focused on the mental health side of things. I'm becoming a mental health counselor, a licensed mental health counselor as we speak. But really working from an identity level, working with executives who are looking at that next phase of their career, who may have suffered a setback in some form or fashion, looking to really advance themselves. The IronMind philosophy is, it's not an out-of-the-box coaching package. It's a strategic working process relationship that gets the best out of high performers. So it's been an incredible past 9 months getting into this space and working with high achievers and watching them do amazing things.
Got it. So is this simply working on a mindset? Is it of the body as well? Any specific area that you guys focus on, or is it just a general mindset that we're trying to get across?
Well, the mindset, is certainly something that, but it incorporates a lot of levels of discipline. We peel back the layers. We understand what our goals are. We set realistic expectations. We're looking at some of the things that have hindered us in the past and setting boundaries around them, taking an overall look at our wellness and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, both mentally and physically and spiritually, making sure that we're making time for our families, our friends, what's really important in our lives, applying life lessons from my 27-year career of many ups and downs and learning through important lessons along the way. And then, applying that to my own transformation, which was once I I approached my own rock bottom 2 years ago, and since have been rebuilding myself using this Iron Mind blueprint that, really asks more of ourselves as high achievers to really go above and beyond to be the best version of ourselves. And, I'm living proof of that. I'm the testimony, if you will, and I walk with the walk. So that's what I do with my high achievers is we push hard, but we do amazing things. So that's what we're doing.
So let's step back, Kenny. Let's talk about your
Hmm.
journey. It looks like your story is very important. You've gone through a lot of struggles. So if you mind, let's share your story with the audience, and then we can dissect it from there. Because I think that's very
Yeah,
important for you to live as an example.
it really is. The story is incredibly important to understand where I'm coming from. The Iron Mind mentality, like I said, I spent 27 years in cybersecurity. I came out of the gates I graduated from the Citadel in 1997. I went to a very,
Mhm.
intense military school, got out of there with the intent of, whatever the path was, my future in the military or not. I ended up going into the .com era, moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and stepping right into the newly minted internet security industry back in the day, literally. Um, Now, what that transformed into was, you know, uh, I was wealthy right out of the gates, right place, right time, instant millionaires. There was many of us at a very young age, so that was a lot to adjust to. But more so than the money, it was, the rise through the ranks of leadership onto this incredible career of working with some of the best and brightest people and leaders in the world, traveling the world doing global sales for companies like VeriSign and Symantec, and multi-million dollar relationships across the globe, South America, Asia, all over Europe. And it was fabulous, and it was high pressure, and it was intense. And my goal was always to overachieve, and I was a classic, swing for the fences, do all the, always wanted to be at President's Club, always wanted to be crushing my quotas, making money. And that comes with a lot of stress and intensity. And, as the years piled up, into my 20, as I got into my 40s as an age, but, into 20 plus years into that industry and doing that, it's a grind. It's a lot of hard work. And,
Mhm.
um, the signs started to show, and it started to take a toll on my health and my wellness and the decisions I was making for myself. Uh, Within that 27 years, there's a ton of lessons that I've learned from some of the most incredible leaders. And that's what I do. I pass it on. But, during that process, there was a downfall where I struggled with alcoholism, and I hit my rock bottom. And my story is about what happened from that point. And uh, at the point where I decided to reach out and take my Superman cape off because I thought I knew everything and I thought I had all of the answers, but I didn't. And I asked for help. And that day changed my life forever, because the moment I asked for help, the moment I let my ego slide and reach out and say, I can't do this on my own anymore, my life changed in such a massive way. And now here I am,
Mhm.
a year and a half, almost 2 years later. I'm about to be a licensed mental health counselor. I'm graduating from Liberty University. I've started my own business. I'm working with executives all over the world. My goal is to help people not struggle with some of the things that I struggled with along the way. Not just
Mhm.
the alcoholism piece, but what I'm describing to you is corporate burnout at its very finest level. I was run too ragged for so long trying to chase these goals and be this Superman character where everything looked great on the outside, but inside I was hurting badly, and I had to fix it. And that's what I did, and that's what I do with IronMind Advisors. So it's my story, it's my passion, it's my dream come true, it's my prayers answered. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story, Kenny. To your point that you guys were in a cybersecurity, that was late '90s, right, Kenny? I mean,
That's exactly right. 1997, 1998, I started with a great company out of Atlanta, Norcross, Georgia, Secure IT. We got acquired by VeriSign. VeriSign to GeoTrust, which acquired by VeriSign again, to Symantec. I mean, just an incredible journey along the way of acquisitions and IPOs and going public and venture capital and being parts of acquisitions and back into, and it was amazing, but it was intense. I mean, it was a lot. It
But
was,
that
I was a
time,
quota carrying. Hmm.
yeah, but that time, Kenny, in the late 90s, the reason I pointed out is that security field was very new in the industry. It was not very sorted out. It was very new. A lot of stuff was learning. You guys were probably pioneer in that area, so money was not
Yeah.
an issue probably, right? As long as the skill set is there, you know, there was not there was need
It
to
was a
find the
different
right
buying
people to sell the
time.
right value. Exactly.
It was a different buying time. The internet was going crazy, and then there was few people that were learning how to secure it. I recall companies like obviously RSA and Checkpoint and Nokia back in the day that were pioneers, and we sold firewalls. I mean, that's how long ago that was, and firewall training. And
Yeah.
yes, we call it, I say, a 27-year career in cybersecurity, but cybersecurity wasn't a thing in 1997. We called it internet
Yeah.
security or securing the web, and we obviously had transformed in so many fashions over the years. But yeah, a life in encryption and PKI, and that's what I really did. And I don't want to go down that whole. I mean, that's for a whole separate discussion about what a life
What we
in
say,
encryption. But
what I want to make sure the audience understand is simply, this was not
mhm,
sorted out field. You guys were sorting out as you guys were selling, so that there was a shortage of skill set for that for the area, and there was a lot of
yeah.
money involved because simply that there were not many people doing that. So definitely the temptation to produce more sale, produce more of that stuff. That's what you fell for. So that is very hard to control when you have so much money and it's such a shortage of the skill set in a marketplace.
It was an amazing time to be a part of, to be a sales leader during that phase. Yes, money was, as I mentioned, in the buying process was much different. Uh, New customers were always a thing. Enterprises, major enterprises. I've done business with all of them because security was in such demand. It's much different. Obviously, competition was being introduced every single day, but we were the first to the
Mhm.
market with some of these solutions, and it was amazing. So yes, we had to perform, and then obviously we went public, and so you had to answer to Wall Street. And yes, these are the things that if you don't take care of yourself and listen to the signs over the years, um, they end up catching up with you like they did with me. And that's obviously the main point of my story as I prepare for the next phase of my journey.
Yeah. So if you can, look back, Kenny, if you pinpoint a
Mhm.
couple of things, what drove that burnout? Was that chasing quota all the time on from a sales, or was it simply just being the best at what you were doing, or was it money that was driving it? So what are some of those things? I'm sure a lot of people listening to us, they C level or sales executives, that they all probably going through the same thing. So I want to share a couple of things that you can pinpoint that these were the element that drove that burnout.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, being wealthy at a young age like that, it's everybody's dream come true. Well, I shouldn't say that. I dreamed of being wealthy. Many people entrepreneurs. I was 24 years old. There was many of us. I wasn't alone. The stock market was going crazy. It was the dot-com boom. I was part of it. It was
Mhm.
amazing. We were so fortunate in so many ways. So I don't ever want to underestimate that. But being wealthy at that age comes with a cost because trying to keep up with that over the years, over a 25 plus year career, making that kind of money is almost unheard of. And it um, takes a toll. So it's keeping up with the Joneses. It's not wanting to go backwards. I always wanted to move the finish line further. The quota, I wanted it, the biggest one, I wanted to chase it. I wanted to overachieve. So money was a factor. It was the idea of making the accolades of President's Club. It's my drive. I'm addicted to success. I love it. But
Mhm.
I also didn't put boundaries in place to control some of that aggression towards success. And when I look back, that was a critical mistake for me because I could have been equally as successful, if not more, had I taken a better look at how I was going about my business. So
Mm-hmm. Got it. Very interesting. So,
mhm.
you gone through, your challenges, whether it's with the struggle with the cancer or with the addiction, Kenny. When you were down like that, anybody, I know business owners who built the businesses, they go through rough time as well. There's a time that
Yeah.
nobody around you, you simply just, I'm not struggling with that. You're just dealing with it, whether it's addiction or you're trying to build a company. I'm not comparing those two, but the struggle is still, it's a mental struggle. It's your struggle of your faith or your belief system. How did you find strength for yourself to get over these challenges, Kenny?
Well, there's several. I like I said, I was not being the best version of myself. I think that that's the best way to. Alcohol was a symptom of my burnout. I don't deny the fact that I had an issue. It did take over in a way that
Mhm.
it's very capable of doing, and I not being the best version of myself was something that ate at me very badly on a daily basis. With that comes shame, and that just builds, and it compounded with me. That's the burnout
Mhm.
leading up to the bottom, if you will. And I hit a point where I just, like I said, I could not do it anymore. I did not have the strength to be that superpower that I thought I was. So, as I mentioned, my story is I asked for help, and my life immediately changed because I knew I wanted to be this version of myself, the one you're seeing now. This version of me 18 months later is what I always strived to be, but I was not there. And so I had to make changes. I had to, swallow my pride, if you will. I had to um I call it put a stake in the ground and say today's, we're this is day zero and we are moving forward. And that's how I operate today. That's the Iron Minds mentality. No is not an option. Success is, we are, but I have boundaries now. You can hear
Mhm.
my passion. My passion's there. I never
Yeah.
want to take my foot off the gas. I would never ask my clients or my high achievers to say, don't work so hard. We talk about working smart. I know everybody knows that terminology, but putting in boundaries, real world examples like I have done now to make, my life and my work fabulous. And there's ways to do it. I shifted careers. I went from that 27-year career in cybersecurity
Mhm.
to mental health, at 50 years old. It's
Mhm.
wow, huge risk. I'm scared, still am, but it's part of the process. I feel it as a calling. It's amazing. And with the Iron Minds mentality, there's no other option for me but to be successful. What success looks like
Got it.
is different than it used to be. Mm.
Yeah. I don't know if you watched the number recently, Kenny. A lot of kids, especially what we gone through with the COVID. Numbers in Canada is one in every five. Either
Mm.
kids or adults are dealing with the mental health challenges, or they know somebody in a family who's struggling with it. So I'm hoping that we
Yeah.
can give them tools. So a lot of people have that struggle. They start the journey and they fall apart. So what kept you going? Was it enough that did you visualize yourself? Did you use any techniques that, listen, this is who I want to be, that kept you on a track? Or was it some other techniques that you used that, listen, this is how I see
Yeah.
myself in a year or so? So if you can share some, what kept you going and kept you on a track when you're dealing with those challenges?
Yeah. Did I visualize it? You're absolutely right. I'm a dreamer. And what I was visualizing and what was happening when I was struggling was not, and so those dreams were not coming true, if you will. What I visualized was not happening. And boy, did that come with a price, because that's the burnout happening. That's the
Hmm.
what's happening with me. Why am I not being the person? And the way that eats at a high achieving person is tremendous. It's terrible. So for me, yes, visualization and dreaming, getting, obviously you have to, and I had to get help. I had to uh, be more disciplined than I already had been. I had to say that, I had to deploy the Iron Mind mentality. That's what I'm teaching people is like, when we're doing this, whatever it is you do, whether it's a degree or a new career change or a job or a bar exam or um, a master's, whatever it is, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to, because I know that if we deploy the techniques that I'm referring to, visualization
Hmm.
being a huge piece of it, if you don't believe in it, we're not going to get there. But so that's the
Yeah.
visualization, but then putting the steps in place to actually do it. And it starts with that mental health number that you referenced is just startling. Number one, I hate it. It's too much. I hope to help as many as I possibly can. I obviously can't touch everybody, but that number needs to decrease. And what I tell people, if there's one thing, just have a conversation, right? It's the most easy thing, right? Hopefully you have someone to talk to and say, hey, I'm not doing great. And there's such a great campaign across North America about I'm fine, or are you really fine? But that's a good question to check on your friends or your loved ones and make sure. But if they're not, there's people out there that are willing to help you, me being one, but there are people everywhere. And what it did for me was absolutely life-changing, honestly. And that's why I'm such a proponent for people seeking help, whatever it is, mentorship, guidance, friendship, coaching, whatever, because sometimes that's what you need to get across that hump or hurdle or finish line.
Yeah, especially when we are talking on a these days we work in a decentralized environment. Whether it's a sales team, whether it's a C-level executive, we don't know what's going on with somebody other side the camera. Just checking in and paying that attention. Sometimes is a great help, right? So and then sometimes the person sitting in front of you on a camera, maybe it's fine on a Zoom call, but how about their family? Maybe they're struggling with something, right? So understanding all that, being sensitive to all that stuff, and understanding, I think that is the only way to so let's talk about your experience. So you've been working with a business leader, you've been helping them with the iron mindset. Where you see some of the challenges are what the struggle is about.
Well, the biggest challenge is taking off the cape, as I mentioned. The focus with the high achieving people know who they are. Everybody says, well, how do you define a high achiever? And I can define it, but the people that are listening to this, for example, likely have an ambition to do amazing things, whatever it is they're doing. That's a high achiever, but they know who they are, right? So it's getting into that mindset. We're going to set some goals. We're going to, in getting into the IronMind mentality is what I'm trying to, encourage with my clients. And it has been very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat your question more specifically, please? I lost my train of thought there for 1 second. Thank
I
you.
was trying to understand, when you worked with this,
Yeah.
C-level executives, what do you see what some
Oh,
of the
yeah.
struggles are they up against? What are they struggling with? Are
Yes.
they struggling with the diagnosed part, or they're simply struggling with how to get back with the iron mind mindset, or what's some of the struggles that you see that with these
Yeah.
these people?
That's the struggle is, they've been in high pressure situations for a long time, right? That they've been operating at such a high level for such a long time. No, it doesn't always involve alcohol or the burnout or symptoms of burnout. But what I'm seeing is, what does that next phase look like? As I looked at it as a 49 or 50-year-old, what does my next 20, 30 years look like as I approached a career moment? So executives are struggling with, what does that next phase look like? Can the trajectory that I'm currently on, can I maintain it? And many people are very good at it. They really are. They maintain their health, their wellness, they check in. And then there's some that aren't. And, that's what I would like to focus on is there are solutions. And I would like to say that I'm a walking example of that. My health was obviously very deteriorated to a point where I made these changes, implemented what I've done to become, the healthiest version of myself, quite frankly, in a long time. And, thriving on so many different levels, but it is, it's just taking a look and peeling back the layers. What are the signs of, are you going through the motions? Are you not happy doing the things that used to make you excited? Things like that. Are you bringing it home from work? Those are the things that we don't need to do. And I used to do them and now it's so nice not to have to do that because I've implemented this iron mind way of thinking where we process that and put it in its place. And that's one of the components. And it comes through a lot of ups and downs over the years of learning the right way to do things and perhaps the wrong way and putting in some best practices to fix it.
Yeah. Well, especially the business leaders are when they have to make a decisions, right? When you make a decision, it's nobody around you. It's all you. And if you're not at your 100%, if you don't have that kind of a mindset, the room to make a wrong decision or right decision. There's very fine line. I think that's where the struggle is,
Yeah.
that the decisions we make on a daily basis, you gotta have a right mindset to make a decision, and especially when you're
Yeah.
making decision to help out your team. If you help, if you got a team 100, 200 people, you need to make decisions for all these people. That's where the challenge. I think if you're not taking care of yourself, how do you make the right decisions?
Right. And there's two great points there. First and foremost, and those executives who have those large teams, I think that we have a responsibility to recognize when, our top performers on our team are not, something's off, or, they're losing their edge, and stepping in there as a leader just to nudge and see if they're okay. So important to do, right? As a leader, I kind of wish I had that back, but again, my issues were my own issues, but there are signs that my trajectory was not heading in the right direction, and I wish I would have got smacked a little earlier than I did. So, um, but yes, I agree.
Yeah, and impact on the people around you as well, right? So when you are struggling with their own challenges, Kenny, people get that energy. People feel that as well, right? So they need to overcome those challenges as well, because if you're a leader, you're not 100%. They have to compensate for that to do their jobs.
So recognizable too. Leaders, when they're on, and when they're off, people know it. And it's. I was the same way when I'm on, and I knew when I was off too. But and my story was, we builds upon that. But I tried to get myself back, and finally. But I also like to, I did not know what the right help was for me, quite frankly. And I want to tell these executives, like, who does the CEO call when he needs help, right? Because he's usually the person that everybody calls. That's just an example that, there's always that example. But who did I go to when, or who should I call when I needed help? It was a tough road to navigate, and it gets dangerous because when I needed help, I really wanted it, didn't know what. Finally, my amazing friends stepped in with the right solutions for me, and I started in the right direction. But oftentimes these executives, these high performers, don't know who to call because they're not sure what's the issue. And that is where I love to help, because I can oftentimes point them in the right direction based on my trying all of the things over the years, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I
So,
think other part of that, Kenny, is they don't want to be vulnerable, right? They don't want to come across as a weak. Leaders,
oh,
they
yes.
have that mindset. I don't want to come across weak. I don't want to look like that. I'm the bottleneck. So they come across with that mindset that they try to cover everything with that persona. That, listen, I need to be stronger
And
because I'm a leader in a company.
I'm trying to change that. That's systemic failure right there. I was that person. I knew it all. I was strong. I had it all under control. I don't need help. Are you kidding me? I can do this forever. Boy, was I wrong. But not only that, when I asked for help, whatever it was, coaching, therapy, I had lots of it. But wow, the changes that were made, amazing. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not, asking for help is a sign of strength in my book. That's especially for these people that are, you know, in those high pressure environments for so long. I think it is an absolute sign of strength. I am out on a mission to change that persona 100%, because I saw what it did for me. I was the person that said, I don't need any help. Who are you to tell me what and now I'm
Yeah.
preaching that it is one of the most amazing things to do.
And plus, it's a gender specific too, right? Men generally, the guys, they want to look tough. They want to come across as they got everything under control. So that's last thing they want is asking for help. Where that's the first thing they need to talk to somebody.
Yeah, there's tough personalities and all, with women, with physicians, with salespeople like myself, with uh, founders, with these people that we think we know it all. And I get it. I understand. Smart people, and oftentimes they know a lot, but um, sometimes they don't know that they need help or where to go when they need it, and that's something that I'm trying to change.
What could they do? What would be the first step, Kenny? If somebody's feeling that, listen, I need to talk to somebody, what could they start without dealing with all the personality challenges and all the stuff that takes long time to overcome? That I don't need help to
Yeah,
understand. Okay, I need help, right? Something they can do small to start recognizing some of those items and start working towards it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, starting as small as it gets, there's so many resources available. Obviously it is difficult to find. It's a navigating through what you actually need is challenging. I've tried to minimize that with my messaging. So my website, I at IronMind Advisors, I have a discrete text line. So if people, a lot of a lot of these things are, I take that very, very seriously. Obviously, the confidentiality, the discretion. The people that I work with don't want to be on web pages. They don't want to do
Mhm.
testimonials. This is quiet stuff behind the scenes, and I respect that. So, however people find me, it's easy to do if you need to find me. But my website is ironmindadvisors.com, and there is a discrete text line there. But um, even beyond that, there's I put out messages on TikTok, IronMind Kenny, every day about small tips that you can implement into your daily routine that I call IronMind tips of the day. But there's also, I encourage anybody that if they're having that thought process, the moment to do something is sooner than later, because as I mentioned in some of my talks, that high functioning danger zone of, well, I think I need help, but I don't know what to do, to the point where you actually do. That's a dangerous period. I call it the high functioning danger zone because you're essentially giving yourself a pass. I did it for 9 months. I'm grateful that I lived through it quite, and so I want people to know that there are places to go to where it's non-judgment zone, if you will, but very high confidence, confidentiality, discretion, non-sales, real world discussion. IronMindAdvisors.com. I'm grateful to help, and that's what I love to do.
Yeah. So is that spreading awareness, Kenny, or just you work one on one with the business leaders and the coaching environment, and you work with them ongoing basis and help
Yeah,
them out?
awareness is the best way I can help as many people as I possibly can. But yes, I also am an executive coach because I have a lot to offer when it comes to helping people navigate that next huge phase, right? That next huge promotion, that next huge job change, degree. I've been there, done that. Athleticism, Ironman races. Like, I'm not going to be able to teach you how to run faster necessarily, but I love to work with the mental side of things and getting across that finish line where no is not an option, as I've said in my
Yeah.
many times. And as a 10-time Ironman finisher, I've never missed one. So that's how we do it when we
Did
get
you?
serious.
How how long was that? How long was the race, Kenny? How many miles were that Iron Mile race?
Well, an
That's
Ironman race is a 2.4 mile swim followed by a 112 mile bike and then a marathon. So it took me, my fastest Ironman was in the 12 hour and 20 minute range. I think that's not great by any stretch. It's not horrible. I've also been up there in the 1430s. But yes, it's an incredible daunting task. It was, it taught me a lot, and a lot about boundaries and not having them in place, because it is a time consuming event that challenges you in many ways. I'm so glad I did it because I've learned my mental fitness is as strong as anybody's I would go against, for sure. So, uh,
That is such an interesting point, Kenny. I'm an avid runner. I just do small marathons here in Canada,
small
and my
marathons.
daughter's
Yeah.
all it's like a 26 kilometer, 27 kilometer. That's just that not a very long one. So, but my daughter's always pushing me, Dad, you should do Ironman. Every year she pushes me. So haven't done it, but uh,
Yeah.
just by doing the marathon, I understand going through these physical challenges has nothing to do with the physical body. It's all mental health. It's how well you prepare mentally, because when your body gives up, you need the mental strength to push through it. So I think I'm glad you
So
mentioned
you
that, because
know
that is
exactly what I'm talking about. This is the Iron Mind
yeah.
mentality. Without it, you don't. You're at the last 4 kilometers of that long race that you're running, and your legs are
Yeah.
destroyed. You can't breathe. You're hot. You want to quit. It's the I never doing this again. And then something else
Yep.
clicks in and says, "Oh yeah, watch me." And then you go finish that
Yeah.
race. That's the Iron Mind's mentality at its core. It got me across every finish line because I wasn't, physically, I was probably as gone as it gets on most of mine, but I was uh, not accomplishing that goal. And that is what it takes. Some people decide that they want to take the afternoon off. not this guy. And it sounds like you know what it's like as well.
When I go for a run, I try to do a couple times a week beside a gym. What I find is what worked for me over the years is if I need to make a decisions in a business, or if I have to decide something tough I have to deal with, I deal with last couple of kilometers that my run is. The first few kilometers, you're just dealing with the day to day kind of stuff is going on in your mind. But the last 4 or 5 kilometers, that's what your your mental state is totally different, and all your chemicals are working, and you're in a strong in your mental health. So that's I make a lot of my decision in the last 3 4 kilometers, and I find all the decision I'm making that those few kilometers, those are the best decision I ever made.
It's an amazing feeling when you get there, when that runner's those endorphins, the decision making, the clarity that comes from feeling good on a run, accomplishing that, checking that box for the day, getting that
Mm.
fitness in the physical side, but you get into a great place mentally from it. You feel great. So that's, yes, I love that as well. And I make I have a lot of meetings with myself when I'm running or biking for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I tell my wife is so for me that's a meditation. We don't be not the same page. She thinks meditation is different than this, but for me that is a meditation. When I'm out there and I gone through 20 kilometers, the last few kilometers, that is a form of meditation for me. I'm not sure if it's wrong or right, but that's how I feel.
Well, it's right then. That's what I say because it
Very
works.
interesting. Okay, so what's next for Kenny? I understand you're working with a lot of business leaders, Kenny. You going a lot of events as well. So what's the plan for the rest of the 2026 or further?
Well, I have some serious responsibilities to finish up my degree here with my practicum and internship, getting licensed. This is going to take the rest of the year, if not into next year. Not rushing it because, well, I am rushing it, but I'm
Mm.
also not. I have boundaries. See, in the past, I would have said I'm going to get no. I'm going to let it run its course because I'm also running
Yeah.
my business. I do keynote speaking. I love being on the stage and talking about my story in one form or fashion because it appeals to executives. It appeals to sales teams. It's called Grace in the Mirror. It can get pretty deep, but it's also incredibly inspirational. So I love sharing that. And then my executive coaching business is fantastic because it's very strategic. It's beyond any coaching that I've received in the past, which is a lot. I've worked with the best coaches, and honestly, it's a
Mhm.
combination of a lot of things that I've learned as well. But so I love doing the coaching, and I'm going to continue to work on, being an advocate for uh, early detection for prostate cancer awareness. That was a struggle that I encountered last year, and thank goodness that I was able to use early detection to find my cancer soon enough to treat it and eliminate it. And I want to let others know that there's ways to do that as well. And then also helping this crisis, which I call the executive burnout crisis in America, which is damaging a lot of very, very smart people in multiple fields because of the grind that they're going through consistently with this expectation to succeed. And we love that. We need those people and those mindsets and that mentality, but we have to learn to take care of all the supporting things, not only the physical and the mental, but the family, social life. And that's the Iron Mind mentality. And I just love
Yeah.
working with people because executing it is the results are amazing. The way it transforms into an overall well-being and happiness is it's just been a dream come true for me, like I said.
Yeah. Well, executives working in the business owners, they're trying to build their companies. There's so many blind spot. And one of the blind spot is a burnout. The health is another a blind spot. And that's where we need a people like you to spot those blind spot before it's too late, before you see the same symptoms on your health. If you can spot those blind spot a lot earlier, definitely it's good for your business, whatever you're trying to do. You can achieve a lot more. And plus, you're going to take care of yourself and the family through this journey. So I think that's why we
Yes,
need to
and your team,
spot the blind spot.
your team, our leaders have teams, and I want to erase this stigmatism that burnout is. It's like it gets laughed at. Oh, burnout, like work harder, you got this, get a good night's sleep. No, that's tired, that's exhaustion, whatever. Burnout is a real thing that ultimately ends in some very negative health issues, and I'm an example of that. So that's the message. Burnout is a serious thing, and there's ways to prevent it, and to be cognizant of it, and be aware of it, and to take some pretty simple steps to stop it before it gets too far.
Very interesting. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you, Kenny?
Well, I love people to visit my website at ironmindadvisors.com, because that's where I love to share the same message that I'm talking about today. I do the IronMind tips of the day on TikTok at IronMind Kenny. I have a LinkedIn, which is at K Stoddart at the end of the LinkedIn. There's a lot of great information. I try to put out as much content as possible. Sometimes people would say it's too much, but my message is getting out there, and that's very important to me. So I will continue to do that, and some people will pause it. That's fine. Some people will see it, and that's great. And
Yeah.
so there's that way. And
Yeah. No, I will include a link to all the website, a LinkedIn page, and all that stuff below this video. Encourage people to click a
okay,
button and reach out to you. There's so much to learn from people like you. You've gone through your journey, and definitely it gave me perspective. How to consider some of these areas, not only for myself, also for my team as well. If they're struggling with something, how to diagnose that problem, how to help them out. So, business owner or business leaders who are listening to us, watching us, I'll definitely encourage them.
yeah,
Listen, reach out to you for conversation. Click a button below. Reach out to for a discussion. Who knows where the discussion is gonna go? But at least reach out to you for a quick conversation and to see what happens from those conversations.
yeah, I love those conversations. Talking business, talking giving a little perspective from my angle. I love it. Thank you. That's a great option.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Kenny. Enjoy our discussion. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you very much.